So talk me through May budget. What are you thinking the government might or might not do? There's a lot of speculation out there. What are your thoughts about the changes?
Yeah, there's definitely been a bit of a sentiment shift with clients we're talking to. Definitely people considering options a little bit more and trying to factor in potentially some changes in strategies and how they approach things, and maybe a different structure might be more suitable. At the moment, there's obviously limited information we have, so it's hard to make...
Loads of speculation.
So it's hard to make a concrete decision. I think the fundamentals don't ultimately change, though.
Yeah.
You just might have to, just have some additional buffers in place to make sure you're still comfortable with the investment decisions.
For sure. I mean, at a high level, what I've heard, this is all hypothetical, guys. We're hearing that capital gains tax could be cut to 33%. Or 25%. The big thing I think is the grandfathering. I think they're likely to keep the grandfathering in because if they don't, I think there'll be mass uproar.
Yeah.
So that kind of covers the CGT at a high level, what they might change. And then the negative gearing, they may limit it to 2 properties or they may do no properties. So that is going to affect your servicing.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think the big thing is about what's your strategy. Negative gearing is a tax outcome and it does affect your net cash flow. But why are you investing in property? What's the time horizon? Are you doing this for 1 to 2 years, or is it actually an investment for 5 to 7 and 10 years? And that's where the broker can be very useful, I think, on the numbers. So talk me through how you do those deal calculators. So assuming some of these changes come through, what does it actually look like for someone sitting down with their broker or you as their broker in terms of running the numbers?
Yeah, so the lenders definitely factor the negative gearing into the calculations. And depending on someone's unique circumstance, in some people's situation, depending on what they actually announce and actually bring into place, it'll have little to no impact.
Yeah.
And then others, it'll have a significant impact.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're a doctor earning 400 grand and you're negatively geared by 100K a year.
Yeah. And then depending on how they split that across properties or whether it's a percentage-based thing, there's people talking like it's going to be, absolutely no negative gearing, which I think is very unlikely.
Yeah.
And then there's people talking there's going to be no change. I think there will be a change, as my uneducated sort of guess.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be the elimination of it, though.
Yeah.
My view on making plans moving forward is going back to your basic principles. What's your long-term strategy? What's your plan with the asset? Is it a cash flowing asset? Is it a growth asset? Running your figures based on, whatever the legislation ends up being.
Yep.
And then all your other things in place, like having your LVR buffers in place, having your cash buffers in place, so that if there is a tweak in the strategy, a minor legislation change doesn't upend your whole strategy.
Yeah, you don't want to end up, sleeping under a bridge because you've missed your repayments. But the interesting thing is I always think about it this way. So I've been balls to the wall, as one would say, the whole property journey.
I'd agree. Yeah.
So my strategy since 2018 has just to go as hard as I can for as long as I can. Mm-hmm. And we did that. I mean, you look at 2020 for me, where we did our deals 2 and 3, and then bought a unit block in 2021. And that was before we'd even met. And then when we met, I went even harder because we were able to unpack together the numbers and get comfortable around the risk, around the lending opportunities. And I think you're right. It's just going to change. The environment's going to change and everyone is going to adapt. It's either adapt or die. And no one wants to die. So we're going to all adapt to whatever changes the government makes and look for the best opportunities.
And with these type of things, unfortunately, they've priced in additional rate increases as well. I always go back to what's my sphere of control. Unfortunately, we can't control the RBA rate increases.
Yeah.
We can't control the legislation changes. But what you can control is what are the rates on your portfolio?
Yeah.
What's your strategy? Where's your cash buffers? What are your LVRs?
Yeah.
And rates are a particular one that's a big area of focus at the moment. A lot of people are actively looking for cost savings.
Yeah.
And to me, it makes sense. We recently had a client that we refinanced their whole portfolio. I think it was like $3.5 million worth of lending.
Yep.
And we averaged out about a 0.5 reduction across the portfolio.
Yeah.
So they've mitigated 2 rate increases.
Yeah, wow.
So they were proactive and did something.
Yeah.
And they've mitigated 2 of those rate increases. Now, if there's further increases, they're still going to be, still going to have some increase in repayments. But they were proactive and they've able to mitigate some of that hurt.
Yeah.
So I think going back to doing those things where you can and doing them preemptively.
Yeah.
If you have a larger portfolio and you're in the stage where you're not necessarily looking to acquire more assets and you're sort of waiting for the budget to come out, you can proactively look for better rates in the meantime.
For sure.
And with lending, it is often easier to reprice existing lending compared to getting new lending.
Yeah.
Banks, if they're seeing that you've had your repayment history has been solid for a 12-month term, often the way they do their assessments is different. If they can see it's going to be a cheaper rate and you've already been making your repayments, well then they're generally a bit more open to bringing on new clients.
For sure. It's that juggle between getting yourself the best rate, but actually having the serviceability to get the approval with the lender and managing the cash buffers.
Yeah. And it's those phases, right? So when it comes to acquiring the property, sometimes you might have to go with an option with a higher rate for timing or whatever serviceability constraints or whatever policy purpose.
Or you're pushing the envelope because you're wanting to go to second and third tier lenders to get access to more debt, to hold a bigger asset base. You're taking more risk basically.
Yeah, exactly. But when it comes to holding that for 6 or 12 months or even a longer period of time,
you then want to come
there's no
off.
harm in reviewing to see if you can get a better rate. There's no downside essentially. If we run our costs, we always make sure that someone, if there is a change, they're in a better position within the first 12 months, particularly on a larger portfolio, like a 0.5 reduction is massive.
Yeah. Well, so every $1 million, 1% would be 10 grand. And so if you've got $3.5 million and you get a 0.5% change, you're looking at 15 to 20K a year savings.
Yeah.
That's a big amount of money for $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And just by going through the process with your mortgage broker to refinance, to get yourself onto a sharper rate and potentially even access some equity in that process so you can buffer yourself even further.
Yeah. That's certainly a big one at the moment. And often it doesn't require a full refinance process. It can be as simple as us going or your current mortgage broker going to the bank on your behalf, saying this person's considering leaving, what can you do? And often banks, only when prompted, will then come back with a discount. Yeah. We've had an outcome for a person where we've had them a $30,000 per year reduction.
Just by going to the what do they call the team at the end?
Retention.
Retention.
Yeah.
Going to the retention team, getting to that process.
No refinance. Yeah, we don't make anything out of that, but it's goodwill for us. We're happy to help people. He replied back to the email and said, thanks. So that was like, okay.
30 grand. Let's go.
Got a thanks. But at the end of the day, those little things that you can do can make a difference. So I always encourage people to do that and review it and do it as every 6 months or 12 months. I actually do an audit myself on my finances. I do one personally and one for the business.
Yep.
And during that day, I generally have a pretty good return on that effort I put in. I would go through everything. I compare my electricity. I compare my interest rates. I look at anything within the business that we're not using.
Sharpen all those,
and sharpen it all. And then I do what's the return on that day. And I'm always pretty happy with the time spent. We do have it's not our bread and butter, but we do have some other services around comparing electricity and that sort of thing as well. You can, little things in it.
Yeah, every little win gets you closer towards your end goal. And I think where people get lost is when they just let the bills roll through and they don't keep an eye on those little 1%ers.
Yeah.
If you can cancel your Netflix and your Stan for a few months, even if it's only 3 months on those, you cut down on your electricity, cut down on your gas bill, all those 1%ers start to add up pretty quickly.
Yeah. And individually it's not much, but when you combine it all, it's, it can make a difference for sure.
And I'm applying that in my own journey at the moment. We went through together purchasing 5 deals from my portfolio last year. You helped bring the capital. I helped bring the opportunities in terms of the purchases. And so I went through a heavy acquisition phase last year. And this year it's more about consolidating, adding value to the assets, doing granny flats, strata subdivisions, 2 renovations. There's a lot that's happened in that space, but working with you guys at Cube Home Loans has allowed me to go, okay, here's the strategy. Here's where we can pull some quicker debt. Here's some higher interest rate debt. Here's my cash buffers once we do those things. And then it's always changing. That's the interesting thing about the government policies and your personal portfolio is that I think you need to touch base with your broker every 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
You probably reiterate that is so important, especially once you get to my level. Like Nevada and I probably every 12 weeks, once a quarter, touch base. What's the plan? How has things changed? What's your revenue looking like? And I would suggest for most people every 6 months at minimum, just touch base and see what those are the interest rate sharp, what are the valuations looking like, so you can make plans for the future or buffer yourself now.
And sometimes those conversations might be, properties are performing well, rates are the best they're going to be. So
you're doing great.
And at the very least, someone has some more certainty around where they're at.
Yeah. The other interesting thing for me is, what do you do once these changes come through? So There's lots of different structures you can buy, and you can buy in trust accounts, personal names, company structures. The big talk of the town is the company, or the bucket company structures that a lot of people are planning on using, depending on the changes the government brings in. Now, I think it's really important that if you decide to go down setting up a bucket company, putting money in place, you got to work with your accountant and the broker on that.
Yeah.
Because yes, there's benefits to buying in a bucket company. You know, it's a separate legal entity. You can potentially roundhouse the debt in that entity, but there also could be some drawbacks. So I think depending on those structures, have a chat with the broker too.
When people come to me with different ideas on structure, my advice is always go chat to your accountant first.
Start there, yeah.
Because the tax considerations are generally more important than the lending considerations. And then second, we can then look at what options are available, because not all lenders are available for those different entity types, and then do the more accurate costings based on that.
Yeah.
But definitely get some advice. And off the back of all this, we're seeing a lot more uptick in self-managed super fund purchases. Big increase there. There's obviously some potential changes they're talking there, but potentially not as significant. But yeah, that's definitely a big shift we've been seeing for sure.
Yeah, and I think everyone thinks there's a silver bullet. You know, we make a change. We was 6, 12 months ago, 18 months ago, we'll buy in the trust, unlimited trust lending.
Yeah.
And now the government's going to make this May budget announcement. This video coming out just before that. And so you're going to hear, oh, we can buy in bucket companies and that's going to solve the problems. And in 12 months, in 2 years' time, it's going to be a new strategy. It's just about moving with the times and also taking a mid to long-term vision.
And the unfortunate thing in our industry is like a lot of the marketing is sensationalized. This is the best way and this is the only way. It depends is the boring reality. It's not good for marketing, but it's always, it depends.
Yeah. And there's like even creative things you can do with your accountant. If you run a business and it's an operating company, you may not have to pay a 30% tax bracket. You may be able to pay a 25% tax bracket, as long as your ratios are right between the investments and your active income in the company. So that's where chatting with an accountant, I'm a chartered accountant, but I won't do your accounting. So chatting with an accountant who is going to do your tax returns, discussing those active, passive strategies, lending, all those things, I think is super important with the budget coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll often loop in with the accountants, have joint conversations around getting that structure right, because it pays to get all the fundamentals set, established in the first place. I've recently had a client, great client of mine, they didn't chat to their accountant first, signed the contract under their trading company name, which their accountant, when they found out, was horrified. Unconditional, they actually won at auction, and now they have to go through the process of having their contract amended, which is causing some delays with finance and that sort of thing as well. So whilst it was a harmless, not harmless, but it was a mistake.
They thought they were doing the right thing.
A little mistake, just if they had checked, it would have just saved a lot of heartache and effort in the back end. So always good to do that in the planning phase.
Yeah. So regardless of what the government announces in the next week or so, keep your finger to the pulse, build your team around you. If you want a buyer's agent, you can work with us at Purpose Property. If you're looking for a mortgage broker, have a chat with the guys at Cube. We can put you in touch with conveyancers, accountants, building and pest guys as we do your buying. So we can give you contacts as well, but build that team around you to navigate these changes that the government's going to make so that you're still in a strong position moving forward.
Yep. And with us, it doesn't need to be you're ready to go do a deal. If you just have questions and want some clarity, just feel free to reach out. Happy to help.
Awesome. Good chatting with you guys. We'll see you in the next video.
Thanks, guys.